When I was 10, a friend of mine taught me how to play chess, and excited, I ran home. I knew my stepfather loved to play chess, so I ran in the house and I asked him to play a game. And about 5 minutes later, the game was over, and I was stunned. I realized this isn't like checkers. And as he got up and walked away from the table, I replayed the last 3 or 4 moves in my mind, and only then did I connect the dots and see his overarching strategy. I think this sums up very clearly the year 2020. But first, as always, we start with our mission. With firm faith, I believe and profess everything that the Catholic Church teaches. But for many reasons, the fullness of that message hasn't been getting out lately. What if we, together, set out to learn the faith, to live the faith, and to share this faith, like missionaries of old? What would the world look like in 100 years? I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. But each of us knows very well the principles of victory. And while we don't know the specifics of what will happen in this particular situation, we know well how to apply the principles of our faith to the circumstances that we're living in now. Remember the words of Archbishop Carlo Vigano just days ago. He said, "In these hours, while the gates of hell seem to prevail, I ask you to make an act of trust in God, an act of humility and filial devotion to the Lord of armies. I ask that all of you pray the rosary. Pray with the abandonment of children who know how to have recourse to their most holy mother, to ask her to intercede before the throne of the divine majesty. Pray with a sincere soul, with a pure heart, in the certainty of being heard and answered. Ask her, she who is the help of Christians, Auxilium Christianorum, to defeat the forces of the enemy. Ask her to grant the victory to the forces of good and to inflict a humiliating defeat on the forces of evil." Here, the Archbishop is asking us to make an act of humility. We, who have spent our lives praying the rosary, meditating upon the mysteries of the life of our blessed Lord, we know well the power of the virtue of humility. And we know interiorly that this is how our blessed Lord has brought about the greatest victories in the past. Remember Herod the Great, the king of Israel, when Christ was born. He was an impostor to the throne. He was not the rightful king. He was put on that throne by the Romans to be a puppet king. And considering what he later does to the child innocents in Bethlehem to hold on to that throne, I think it's safe to assume that however he positioned himself to initially take that throne was immoral and unethical. But who was the rightful king? This is debated among scholars, but there's a strong case that the rightful heir to that throne was Saint Joseph, because according to the Gospel of Saint Matthew, Joseph was David's son. So Herod sitting on that throne was a terrible injustice. He cheated, and he killed the holy innocents to hold on to it. How did heaven respond to this injustice? And this is the point behind the scenes, far away from Fox News and CNN. The angel Gabriel came to Mary and asked her if she would be the mother of the rightful king. He said, "God will give to him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over the house of Jacob forever." And we all know that Mary said, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. Let it be done unto me according to thy word." Now here's the point. Now is the time to reflect interiorly on the humility of that stable in Bethlehem. While a fake king sat on the throne, God responded in humility, in the humility of Bethlehem, in the silence of the night, without the commentators of Fox News or CNN making all that noise. The true and rightful king was quietly born. Now, they've shown their hand. We can now see their overarching strategy played out. But now it's her turn. Let us wait patiently in humility for her response. Remember, do not get discouraged. Pray the rosary, reflect on the humility of the joyful mysteries. Now, one last thing. You've heard many other YouTubers explain how we're all getting our traffic throttled, And you can imagine how damaging something like that would be for a small channel like ours. We spent a lot of time on that last video praying for all of this, and maybe you didn't even see it. So I'll post it here. Please share it around social media. It would really help all of us out. In the twilight of days, the ugliness of our handiwork has become evident. We now see the terrible lie we have believed, and we see our culture is teetering upon collapse.